Welcome to today's podcast interview. I brought on Jem Fuller. Jem, welcome.
Heather, thank you so much for having me on your show. I've been excited to come and have a chat with you.
Yes, I'm excited. And another Aussie. I already shared with Jem. I love Aussies. I've had a handful of Aussies on the podcast. For those that are new to you, please give a little background. Where do you live and what do you do?
Okay, so I live on the Great Ocean Road near Bells Beach. If any of your listeners are surfers, they'll remember the movie Point Break with Patrick Swayze and Keanu, I think. Anyway, at the end they go to a famous beach called Bells Beach, and that's my local beach. That's where I live. And did you ask what do I do? Was that a question? Uh, Soundbite leadership coach. Deeper than that, I work with leaders and help them explore what it means to be more mindful, more conscious, more driven to help make their team, their organization, their world more awake, a better place, more connected. I also write books. I run retreats in the Himalayan mountains and in Bali. I surf. I hang out with my beautiful 4 teenagers and my wife, and yeah, life's pretty good.
I love that. You know what I am very big on LinkedIn. That's one of my larger platforms. But what I see a lot about LinkedIn is leaders, leaders, leaders. And my big thing, especially the clients that I work with, so I want to know your perspective.
Mm,
I believe if we can't lead ourselves, we can't lead others. And we're all
mm.
leaders, right? So, even if you were a corporate guy, 9 to 5, you're a husband, so you're a leader of your family. You could be in a leadership role at work, but can we talk about that to begin with? What does it mean to be a leader?
I 100% could not agree more. It has to start with you. And I love this beautiful apparent duality. Like we have day and night, masculine, feminine, yin and yang. We have these apparent dualities, right? And I see this in leadership as well. We talk about leadership is an act of service. So it's not about me. It's about the value that I can bring to the people that I'm leading and to the beneficiaries of our product or service or whatever we're doing, right? So on the one hand, leadership's not about me, but on the other hand, hang on, it is about me, because when I've got the leadership hat, the leader hat on, it's about me because I'm the leader, and it's about me in as much as it's about my ability to get out of the way and not make it about me, right? So if I'm the less able I am to get out of the way and serve, then the less I'm good at serving, right? So to do that, to create the ability to quote unquote get out of the way, you need to invest time in your own personal development. You need to invest time in improving your relationship with yourself and life, smoothing out the creases from your past so you're not attached and hanging on and dragging trauma from the past or whatever it is, associations. Even if there's not so much trauma, even if it's just your lenses, your biases, your beliefs, the filtering system that you have, the thicker that filtering system is, the less clearly you can see
Mm.
the people or the things in front of you. So the less clearly you can seek to understand and connect with and really see the people around you. I mean, I believe that leadership is predominantly about people and relationships. And so, yeah, I think you need to do the work on yourself first and always.
Okay, Jem, I want to deep dive that. Obviously, I'm super into personal development. I've truly been reading books since I was an early teen. I grew up in elementary school watching Oprah. I learned about the
Yeah.
power of gratitude practice when I was 8.
Oh,
But
that's so
before we
good.
go there, I would love
Yeah.
for you to share, kind of what was your wake up call? What changed the trajectory of your life? Because it wasn't always this way.
Yeah, it wasn't always this way, although the pieces were always building. I did it round the opposite way. Before we started recording, you and I were talking about what we get sold culturally. We get sold on the programming that you finish school, you go to university, you get a job, you do the corporate thing, you climb the ladder, and you'll be happy, right? Which we both know is not true.
Yeah.
I rebelled against that before they even had a chance to get me hooked into that. I finished high school and I took off. I couldn't get far enough away. I wanted to be an actor. I did that for a little while, but I really fell in love with immersing myself in foreign culture as much as possible and getting off the beaten track. So I spent my late teens right through my 20s and into my early 30s in the most far reaching, culturally diverse, different places I could find. And if I wasn't there, I was earning money somewhere to get there. So my 20s was fire dancing and tattooing and motorcycle couriering and working as a volunteer in third world countries and a kindergarten teacher in Taiwan. Like I've done so many different things to earn money to just keep traveling. And when I was earlier in my 20s, I even really identified as anti-establishment. I was a punk. I had back in the 90s, I was having facial piercings and mohawks and living in squats in London. And I was really rebelling against that whole thing. Go to uni, get a job, climb the corporate ladder. It wasn't until I had kids and I was like, wow, I've got to feed these kids. What am I going to do? In my 30s, I was like, wow. And I ended up working for a travel company and I ended up in a suit and tie. And my friends and family were looking at me going, what are you doing? I cut off my dreadlocks, shaved my beard, and put on a suit and tie. I didn't wear shoes for a decade. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so I did it in reverse. And then I did the corporate ladder thing for a decade. And I got sucked into that world because I thought I've got to provide for my kids. So I ended up doing that thing and I got lost all over again and I lost my way and I moved away from my core values. I was working really hard, but partying really hard. I was a young dad. I wasn't seeing my kids enough. And when I was at home, I wasn't completely present because I was drinking way too much alcohol. It was that whole world. And I was getting less and less happy. So I'd kind of found a spiritual sense of what life meant to me in my 20s, in my late 20s, and then I lost my way. Anyway, so then approaching my early 40s, came what people call the midlife crisis. And I lost my job, lost my house, lost my marriage, lost all my belongings. I kept my two sons at the time. I had 50-50. So we went into a week on, week off, shared parenting relationship. So I still have my two boys, which were my glimmer of hope to sort my shit out, basically. I hope I'm allowed to swear on your podcast.
Yeah.
And so that was the midlife quote unquote crisis, which for me became a midlife awakening. And that's when I realized that I'd been running a program subconsciously that I wasn't good enough. That I wasn't enough, right? And because I'd been running this subconscious program that I wasn't enough, I manifested my life to match my programming. So I attracted someone into my life who always told me I wasn't good enough. I would sabotage any potential success because I didn't think I deserved it. All of this racket was running. And then I realized that in a beautifully stunning spiritual experience in a North American Indian sweat lodge in a men's circle here on Aboriginal land in Australia. And that completely blew my mind. And I realized what was going on. And then Joe Dispenza's book, Evolve the Brain, was the first one that came to me in a series of books by different authors talking about how we can actually use the plasticity of our mind to rewire our program, to reprogram. And so I went to work and I developed a daily committed affirmation practice, meditation practice, and a few other 1%ers that have become habitual and very, very literally changed my mind and then changed my version of reality. And then over the last 10 years, improved my ability to have something to say about my reality, manifestation and creation. So yeah, there you go. That was a long-winded answer to your question.
But I love what you shared and what I want listeners to know. Like, this is our everyday lingo. We are fully immersed in this stuff, subconscious programming, neuroplasticity. So we can talk more about that. But what I want people to realize and understand, I love the saying that life is always whispering to you, right? Like it could be a feather, just really light those nudges, those thoughts that maybe change is needed. Then if you're not listening, maybe a brick will hit you. And if you're really not listening, a Mack truck. And so those little nudges are always coming our way. And, we already talked about it, that we are the sole creator of our reality. And life is always happening. Tony Robbins, his big thing is life is happening for you.
Yeah.
But I've come to understand life is happening through you. So just like you shared, when you did the work, you got the Mack truck, did the work, realized, oh, my programming, my default belief is I'm not enough. So, of course, things aren't going to work out because we have this belief.
Mm,
So, can we help other people understand? Because I know I see it, I think there's more than not. People are
yeah,
unhappy, unfulfilled, going through life's motions, sabotaging consciously or not. And
yeah,
how can we help kind of just wake them up?
yeah. So, I mean, it helps to understand really what quote unquote reality is to you. And it really is a controlled hallucination. I mean, it's a projection inside your mind. And the projection is based off very, very limited bits and bobs of information that you're receiving through your senses. And we can only see a very, very narrow bandwidth of all of the available information. So we see it, and our mind makes predictions and guesses what it thinks is going on based on your past.
Right.
Right. Now, everything that's happened in the past and the meaning that you gave those events in the past have formed your set of beliefs, which are your biases. So, for example, if you have a belief that life is tough, you will edit the information around you to match your belief. You will experience a tough life. If you have a belief that people are nasty and it's a dog eat dog world and you've got to watch your back pocket and everyone's going to rip you off, if that's your belief system that you might have even just unconsciously had created throughout your life because you weren't awake, you didn't even know you were doing it. But if that's part of your belief set, you will distort the information and delete the information and appropriate and generalize the information available to you to match your beliefs, right? So you will meet nasty people. Now, I've got a belief that people are generally lovely. I meet people like you all the time, every day. Like when I met you, as soon as we started talking, I'm like, oh, see, another lovely person. This is evidence to my belief that people are generally lovely. Now, there might very well be nasty people out there. I just delete them from my conscious awareness. I just don't meet them.
Um,
You know. So anyway, I find this really liberating because once we understand this, then we can do the work and go, hang on, which of my beliefs are limiting or creating a reality that I don't like? Okay, so now I've uncovered those beliefs. What would I prefer to believe? Right? Well, I would prefer to believe that life can be easier, or I would prefer to believe that people are lovely, or I would prefer to believe that I am enough and I do deserve everything that I want to manifest, that I do deserve abundance, that I do deserve love and wealth and happiness and health. Imagine if I believed that, right?
yeah.
So this was me 10 years ago. And so I took that belief and I put it on high repeat. And when I say high repeat, I mean hundreds of times every day I was saying, I'm enough. I am enough. I'm enough. I deserve this. Blah, blah, blah. My affirmations, I started the practice. And then when you look into the science of it, and there's more and more evidence coming from research to the day, right? If you go and listen to Dr. Andrew Huberman on the Huberman Lab, he's got buckets of evidence and data that shows this. When we do our affirmations and we're in a dopamine peak state, when dopamine levels are higher than normal, those neural wirings, quote unquote, they're not actually wiring, but the neural associations that happen when we do our affirmations, they form thousands of times faster. So then I start going, right, well, I'm going to do my affirmations after my cold shower in the morning when the dopamine's high because
Yeah.
it's happening quicker, right? So we can get clever about how we re-brainwash ourselves consciously and create a belief set that allows us to live our best life.
Walk me through a little bit where you're at today versus kind of that awakening, quote, lost everything, to who you are today, what you've created in your life, and kind of where you're going.
Ah, that's a lovely question because it gets me to take a pause and remember what I've created in the last 10 years. Well, 52 years. I'm 52 years old. It's all been a journey and still is. My daily practices habitually now, my mornings begin with um, athletic greens is this really wonderful supplement that my partner and I use, and then some light in the eyes, and then a 20-minute meditation, and then after the shower, after the hot part of my shower, 60 seconds of full blast cold, dopamine levels up, affirmations, 10 minutes of affirmations while I'm getting ready. And then throughout my day, I have pause moments habitually now. I just habitually We'll pause, take a breath, become mindful, and then continue. So I'm constantly recalibrating back to my place of equanimity, my calm center throughout the day. That's what my day looks like, in terms of my practices now. Exercise 5 times a week, exercise, etc. Right? So I'm living a reasonably healthy life. I'm not a full Puritan. I love red wine. I love good food. I love, there are some pleasures in life that I love too. So that's that. But in terms of what I've created, I get to do, when I say my calling, that can sound a bit woo-woo, but it is what I'm called to do, the work that I do. It's harnessing my natural talents with something that I'm passionate about and care about. And I get to help other people and make a positive impact in the world doing what I love. And I've created abundance where I earn more than enough money. We get to travel the world. My kids are happy. They've got more than they could ever want. We live where we want to live. I don't work ridiculous hours. I have plenty of time where I'm not on. And I get to take people to the Himalayan mountains, which is my second home up in northwest India. We get to take people into the jungles of Bali and the deserts of Australia and run beautiful retreats and help change lives. My partner and I work together as well. She has a Pilates, yoga, mindfulness, fitness, wellness studio, which is where I'm talking to you from now. All of her studios are just outside my door here. We work together. We run retreats together. We're ridiculously in love. We've been together 8 years, and it's like we've been together for 6 months and 1,000 years. It's so conscious, this relationship. It's everything. This relationship is a manifestation of what I thought would be possible if I got my state of mind to where I'm getting it to and continuing to practice. It's just completely conscious. Don't get me started talking about my relationship. I'll gush for hours. So that's the life that I've created in the last 10 years since that midlife opportunity, that midlife awakening. But I don't feel like I've arrived. Hey, I don't feel like, I'm here in this moment. I've arrived here in this moment, but in terms of my whole life journey, wow, of course, we're still on the journey. And the practices, the meditation and the affirmations, it's not something that you do until you tick a box and you go, well, I've done that. I don't need to do it anymore. No, it becomes a way of life. It becomes a part of a beautiful day,
Okay, there's so many points I'd like to touch on there, but the big one is that came to mind, especially with, the wife that you have today, the relationship you have today, which is very different from what you did have. I first heard it from Wayne Dyer, but Wayne Dyer said that we attract what we are, not what we want. So the
Yes.
fact that you did the work and you changed and you were shifting your beliefs, then of course you would attract someone, quote, on a higher vibration, this conscious woman.
Yeah. Yeah. And someone who because exactly, that's exactly right. I had to do the work on myself first. It wasn't until I believed that I am enough and I do deserve, you know, deserve is a funny word, but you know what I mean. It wasn't until I got my own relationship with myself to that point of like, yeah, of course, that this beautiful, stunning woman comes into my life and she loves every bit about me. She says to me every day, you are more than enough. You tick boxes I didn't even know I had, and she loves all my bits and bobs that I used to be self-conscious about before, like my bald patch or my belly or my this or my that, or, she loves it all. She loves it all. And to me, she's the most beautiful, stunning woman I've ever met. And still to this day, everywhere we go out, I look around at other women and I never see anyone as beautiful as her. Now, I know that's through my lenses. Great. That's good. They're my lenses. That's my reality, and anyway, so yes, you're right. I had to do the work first. I heard an interview on a podcast the other day, and Dr. Tara Swartz, I think. Anyway, I've just come across this doctor and she's amazing, this English woman, and she's got lots of cool stuff to say. And she said, if you're single and you write a list of all the character traits of the person that your ideal partner, she said, write that list and then go and work on being those things yourself.
Yeah. So Dispenza said the exact same thing. I think it was on Lewis House podcast. Exactly that, right? So if we want somebody emotionally stable and financially independent and blah blah blah,
Blah. Yeah.
you attract what you are. So yes, that totally makes sense. Here's
Yeah.
what I want to ask you, because this is what I'm very big at, and I especially in the roles that we have, the idea of like this being mindful and intentional as a lifestyle. And here's what I want to ask you. I'm going to be totally transparent and kind of even put myself out there. There are times in life where I even like I get into the monotony of another day until I shift my mindset. I get to do this. Like I get to work from home. I don't have to commute. I get to create content. And I realize that literally every single day is a fresh start. I'm
Yeah.
curious your mindset of it is because the same thing. You're in the same
Yeah.
boat.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a saying very similar to that. Today is the first day of the rest of my life,
Mm,
you know, and also having lost family members, and especially my youngest brother, because he was 8 years younger than me. And when he died very suddenly on a motorbike when he was 30, it was a very hard and good reminder that we don't know when we're going to die. Most of
yeah,
us don't know when we're going to die. It
right.
could be any time now, soon. Yeah, who knows, right? So that then being so close to death and appreciating death, I think really can inform how we choose to live, you know. And I'm not afraid of death, but I love to have the conversation about death because we shouldn't avoid it. It's a reality. It is going to happen. And so given that it's going to happen and this life is short, how
Yeah.
do I want to live today?
Yeah.
You know, and yes, we get, like you said, Heather, we get caught back up into the monotony, you know, because we've got it, we've got stuff to do. We get caught back up into the monotony. But if you can create little habitual triggers that trigger you to pause and remember and reset and go, oh, wow, how do I want to live today, right now? How do I want the rest of this day to be? How do I want to show up in each moment?
Mm,
Right. Because that's the most important part. How do
yeah.
I want to vibrate in each moment? You
Yeah.
know, and just keep remembering, you know, and you can get very practical in terms of how to create these habits. I just had sticky notes attaching because I wanted to create a habit of pausing, right? Pause moments, I call them. And so I put a sticky note on my coffee machine, pause. I put a sticky note on my laptop, pause. I put a sticky note inside the front door, pause. So now those sticky notes are not there anymore. Every time I go to make a coffee in the morning, guess what I do? Pause.
Yeah.
Every time I go to open my laptop, pause. Every time I go to leave the front door, pause. Ah, that's nice. You know, so yeah, we can get clever about creating habitual moments to keep remembering to open our eyes and wake up as consciousness, you know.
Well, and really what it sounds like to me is you live very well, I would use mindful and intentional again, but you're being proactive, not reactive. These constant moments to pause is creating presence. It's something I wrote down that you were sharing there. For me, I don't fear death. I call it an expiration date. And I love Abraham Hicks is one of my I've followed Abe for gosh, I bet like 15 plus years. I love Abe and the teachings, and it's really all about vibration. And Abe makes it so light in a joke, like we're all going to croak. And knowing I have an and that's what exactly what Abe says. And knowing that I have an expiration date, that it could be tonight and it could
Yeah,
be in 50 years. Like I feel that I want to accomplish 1,000 lifetimes in this one. There's so much
yeah,
and I love adventuring and exploring, and we all have that within us, and but different, right? There's painters and there's chefs and there's artists and
yeah,
there's podcasters, and like go do your thing. But here's what I want to ask you, because I feel
yeah.
most people are doing the conditioning and programming that we've all been taught. We fell into a cog in a wheel. They're
Mm,
unhappy, unfulfilled, but like that unknown or self-doubt or whatever is keeping them playing small. What do you want
mm.
to offer these people?
Follow Mark. There's an author and a researcher called Marcus Buckingham. I just read his latest book called Love and Work. There's a plug for you, Marcus. And he calls them red threads. The red threads, like you said to me earlier when we were chatting, the breadcrumbs,
Mm.
right? For him, the red threads are, what are the little tiny things that light you up? What are the little tiny things that you get to do sometimes where you lose track of time, where you go into flow state, or what do you find yourself volunteering to do? Just say there's a project at work and they go and the team says, right, here's our new project. Which parts are you saying, oh, I'll do that bit. I'll do that bit, right? These little red threads lead you to what brings you joy.
Yeah.
Now, if you follow these and find ways to do that more, to be curious about that more, and just keep following it and following it and following it, you can find yourself even attracting the abundance of financial freedom because you follow the red threads of the stuff that you love. Now, I know that this might sound too big or impossible or not real to someone who's stuck in a job that they predominantly don't like and they can't see a way out. So you don't need to just quit your job and walk away like I did. Well, actually, I got kicked out. I didn't quit, but you don't have to just be so dramatic. Just find little ways in your life to do more of those things that you absolutely adore to do. And just be curious to follow the red thread, follow the breadcrumbs and see what happens,
Yeah.
right? Because you might in 5-10 years from now turn around and go, oh my Lord, I never thought there was a job where I would get paid to do this stuff that I love to do. But it's out there. I really, truly believe it's out there.
Well, and even then, I think how important is gratitude. Be so grateful you have that paycheck and then start using your free time nights and weekends for that passion project or that side thing.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you don't have gratitude right now for where you're at,
Yeah.
as Abe says, like you can't have a happy ending with an unhappy journey.
Yeah. I love that. That's so true. That's so true. My kids, I can't remember if you said this while we were recording or when we were having a chat before, but you said that you really started to learn the benefits of gratitude at the age of 8.
Mhm.
And so I've got 4 kids now in a blended family, and the two older boys are my natural sons. And when they were little, I used to play the gratitude game with them right from day dot. So we'd be driving in the car and say, right, boys, time for the gratitude game. And we would list 5 things that we were grateful for. And they went through a period of time and they're like, oh, Dad, we have to do the gratitude game again. But that was only a short little chapter. And they're 19 and 17 now. But it's just natural for them to practice gratitude. And it just immediately leads to a happier life. The minute you actually stop and outwardly express gratitude for that which you have, your life just becomes better in that moment. Not just perceptually, biologically as well. The things that are firing inside of you, life just gets really good pretty quickly. So yeah, it's a fundamental piece, isn't it? But I love that quote. You can't have a happy ending if you've got an unhappy journey. That's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so here's something I started that you shared with me that I'd like you to expand on. And it's the idea of like to supercharge your resilience. This has
Mm,
come to mind for me specifically. I just got back from Running Man, which was this running festival in Atlanta. It was more or less build your own adventure. But for me, I went for the community. I'm with 1,000 other entrepreneurs and runners and Jesse Itzler, the guy that founded it, is really big on grit and resilience. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what's gotten me to where I'm at today. I have grit, I have persistence, and you've got to be resilient, right? Like life is going to happen. You're going to have
yeah.
off days or bad moments or challenges and obstacles. So, can we highlight the importance of resilience in as a mindset?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's quite amazing that the last word you said then was mindset, because
Yeah.
mindset has got so much to do with our resilience. I when COVID first came, I designed an online course in personal resilience. I'd actually designed the course before COVID hit, launched the course in February of that year, and then in March, COVID hit, which was kind of interesting. But anyway, the very first thing that I speak about in this course on resilience is mindset or perspective. Because when you think about it, right, resilience, we need energy to be resilient. And our energy on a day-to-day basis, we get worn out, we get tired, we need food, sleep, water, right? So each day our energy levels get worn down a bit. Quite often, it's not the physical exertion, the difference in physical exertion that depletes your energy. You could have a day where you go to work and physically you do exactly the same thing as the very next day. But on one of those days, you come home and you are exhausted. Why? Because of the mental emotional expenditure of your energy. And the mental emotional expenditure of your energy is completely to do with your perspective, how you're looking at something, right? Are you focusing on that which you can't control or influence and stressing out over it? Or are you shifting your focus to that which you can influence or have some effect over, right? And accepting the stuff you can't. Are you looking at a situation in terms of what's not possible? Or are you choosing to look at a situation in terms of what might be possible?
Yeah.
Are you constantly focused on the restrictions? Or are you shifting your focus to the possibilities? Right? Now, this is a practice that we can get better at. And even if you were born a pessimist, the research shows us now, even if you were born naturally pessimistic, with consistency over time of the discipline of shifting your focus to an optimistic outlook, you can change your default wiring. You can become an optimist. And guess what? Optimists have a longer lifespan. They love their jobs more. They love their relationships more. They are generally more healthy. Now, this is data. This is not me just making this up. This comes from research, right? So why would you not want to be optimistic? They're more resilient. People who are optimistic are more tenacious. They're more resilient. They have more grit. They don't give up so easily, right? Because they believe there's hope. So if you could change yourself from being pessimistic and not very resilient to being optimistic and more resilient, why would you not want to do that, right? And you can go do that. But anyway, so I go on a little bit of a soapbox tangent there. But yes, I think resilience is ultimately important and you can cultivate it. It's not just what you were born with.
So for me, I'm curious how you do it. How I have built resilience, I call it building my mindset muscle. Now, I've been a runner since I was a young girl, and I literally elementary school, I used to just go for a 5 mile run. Like I love that runner's high as a kid. And look,
Mm,
follow that, right? That's my breadcrumbs. Somebody else has theirs, whatever
mm,
yours may be. But on that note, being resilient, I push myself purposefully, like I call it fun. Like I did this for fun.
mm,
I
mm,
do physical feats because for me, pushing through the resistance of wanting to quit, that negative mindset, the mental chatter, which I experience running or I've done triathlons and different things. The way I've overcome those with affirmations and mantras and building confidence in doing the things has poured over into all areas of my life. Now that's just
mm.
my way of doing it.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear how you've built mental resilience.
yeah. Also through a combination of things. So mindfulness meditation is a big component for me. Spending time, dedicating time to introspection and contemplation. So
Mm,
spending time where I'm sitting there, becoming aware of what are the beliefs that I'm running? What are the programs that I'm running subconsciously and consciously? How am I looking at this situation?
yeah.
And how could I look at this situation? So actually creating a practice of that, which is dedicating time to another form of, so mindfulness meditation is dedicating time to coming as consciousness and observing rather than being identified and caught in the moment, which is when you've got your eyes closed, the blinkers on, you're just reactionary from moment to moment. So mindfulness is stepping outside of that. And also this contemplation introspection time is giving you the opportunity to step outside of the automatic programs that are just running all the time as well. So that's really important for resilience because then you can train yourself. You can get better at loosening your grip on the way you think things should be. Right? We're all very naturally closed-minded. There's confirmation bias. You believe something, you'll go and find the evidence to back it up. And we tend to, as humans, as a species, we tend to hold on quite tightly to the way we think things should be or the way we think things are. And it's good to just loosen that grip a little bit
Yeah.
and ask yourself, if it wasn't like this, how could it be? Or that person over there who has a very, very different opinion to me, who I'm quite feeling quite defensive around. If I let go of my need to defend what I think is right or wrong, if I
Yeah.
let go and breathed and leaned into this moment with some curiosity, seeking to understand where this person's coming from, how could it be? What different perspectives could there be in this moment? So the ability to open our mind is something that we can consciously cultivate. And I think that when we're more open-minded, we're more resilient, because it takes energy to hold on and defend your point of view. You know, when you can relax a little bit and not feel the need to defend, you're conserving energy, which means you're more resilient. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's these things. The other thing too I talk about in the course, which you do naturally because you run, is movement. We need to move our bodies. Our bodies were made to move. Move your body more, whatever that looks like. In the COVID lockdowns, I was saying to people, put on some music and dance around the kitchen, for crying out loud. You know, you can't leave the house. Dance, move, run, walk, swim, surf, whatever it is. Move your body more and more.
Yeah.
Exercise is the most fundamental thing to our health span. The most fundamental.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's also nature therapy. I immerse myself in nature as much as possible. And we've got scientists doing wonderful research on the benefits of immersing ourselves in nature. In Japan, they call it tree bathing. They go and bathe in amongst the trees. For me, I get in the ocean. I love to surf. Go for a walk in the forest. You know, you live in Denver. Wow, you're surrounded by stunning nature. So
Yeah.
get into nature. And one other component that I think is really important to resilience is a sense of purpose. If you have a sense of meaning to your life, a sense of purpose, why I'm here, what I'm here to do, it 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 just improves your resilience on those tough days where you're like, oh, and then you remember, no, I'm on a mission. I am on a mission, and the mission should be to try and positively impact life around you, right? Not just about I'm on a mission to get rich, or I'm on a mission to when your mission becomes about how can you contribute and make life better around you, then it becomes really an engaging mission. People who have a sense of purpose or a mission are more resilient. And that also comes from research. That's not just me making that up.
Yeah, they have clarity. You know what's coming to mind kind of full circle on this conversation? I literally just wrote it down. Is the idea that I feel a lot of people are sleepwalking through life, living
Mm,
in autopilot and unconscious. And what I'm hearing
mm,
from you is when we become more aware, and you call it introspection, but when you become aware, you take these moments to pause, you create daily rituals. That is how you step back into the driver's seat of your life, right?
yeah, 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 completely.
Yeah.
Completely. That's how you step into the driver's seat of your life. And when you remember this perspective, when you get outside of your taking yourself and your problems in life so seriously, because you've got these blinkers on, and you just and I get it. I've been there, where it's just a struggle from moment to moment, right? And you forget that you are a tiny, tiny, tiny speck on a speck that is
Yeah.
orbiting around a star that is one of gazillions of stars,
Yeah.
right? All you need to do is go outside on a clear night, look up at the stars, look at the Milky Way, and just remember this. We are out, the Milky Way is a disc shaped galaxy, and we're out on the edge of the Milky Way. To travel from where we are in our solar system through the Milky Way to the other side of the Milky Way, traveling at the speed of light, which is about 300,000 kilometers a second, right? Traveling that fast, it would still take about 120,000 years just to cross the Milky Way. And the Milky Way is not one of millions of galaxies that we know of. It's one of billions of galaxies that we know of.
Yeah.
And then there's all the ones we don't know of yet. So for me, when I go out and remember that and look up and look out, then I just start laughing. I really just start laughing because it's hilarious that I was
Yeah.
taking my problems so seriously. It's hilarious that I'm not just eternally grateful for the miracle that I even exist in the first place.
Yeah.
So this ability to choose perspective, I think, is massive.
Jem, we are seriously on the same wavelength because every time I would think of a word or write it down, then you freaking touched on it. But yes, that's exactly what ultimately it comes down to. A shift in perspective can completely transform your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah, completely.
Oh,
Yep.
I love this. And I feel like we literally just got started, but
Oh, we've got so much to talk about. We don't have enough time.
yeah, and
Amazing.
maybe this is something I need to bring you back, but in the interest of time, here's what I want to know because we touched on a lot of different ideas and topics. What do you believe is a key takeaway you want listeners to get?
Um, well, when I say you've made it, I don't mean that you're there yet in terms of the future. You haven't made it to where you're not at yet, obviously. When I say you've made it and you're exactly who you're supposed to be, I mean just in this moment right now, because everything's always changing, right? We're in a constant flux. But if we could take a snapshot, a freeze frame of time right now, you are exactly who you're supposed to be. You are exactly enough to be exactly who you're supposed to be. And you are exactly where you are supposed to be. And everything that you have manifested, both unconsciously and consciously, is exactly what it is supposed to be right now. You've made it to this moment, right? And I know this unequivocally. I know this completely. How do I know this? Because reality tells us. Reality tells us there you are, just the way you are. So apparently, that's who you're supposed to be. Apparently, you're exactly where you're supposed to be right now because reality told us. Now, I love Byron Katie's work. If you haven't heard of Byron Katie, her book, Loving What Is. And she says, you can argue with reality if you want to, but reality will win only 100% of the time. Right.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's so much liberation and acceptance because you go, oh, wow, I am who I'm supposed to be. I am where I'm supposed to be. And I'm not where I'm going yet because I'm not there yet. But I'm not where I was because I'm not there anymore. I'm here, and that's a very long way of saying you've made it to this moment.
Yeah. I have a question for you on that note. So and I totally hear what you're saying, because if you were supposed to be anywhere doing anything different, you would be. If it was
Mm,
supposed to have ended any other way, it would have.
mm,
But if somebody's currently in a position desiring change, financially, health, relationships, whatever,
mm.
how do you accept, okay, I'm where I'm supposed to be and still desire change or growth or evolving tomorrow?
I think it actually enables you to do it even better because if we've only got so much capacity, so much mental, emotional, spiritual energy,
Yeah.
right? We've got a certain capacity. If I'm spending some of my energy wishing that hadn't happened and wishing that wasn't like this and wishing that I wasn't like that, I'm wasting energy because I'm trying to change things that I can't change.
Yeah, the past.
So the past, right, which is
Yeah.
right up until this instant that just happened just then, right, can't change any of that.
Yeah.
Much more efficient and effective to shift my focus and my energy to that which I can either control or at least have some influence over, right? So then I'm going to go, well, here I am. I accept it 100%. Not going to waste my time arguing that I shouldn't be where I am. I'm going to go, where do I want to be?
Yeah.
What do I want to aim for? And
Yeah.
then get strategic about that and go, well, what do I need to do? What do I need to choose to do in this moment? Who do I need to choose to be
Mm.
in this moment, right? Because you can choose that at any moment. And I'm talking about your values. Do you value being kind? Do you value being considerate? Do you value being loving? Do you value being tenacious? Do you value being positive? What are your core values? You can choose to be those right now. Nothing can stop you from being those qualities, right? So you be those qualities. That then determines the quality of what you do in this next moment, right? And then the quality of what you do in that moment, that actually affects the results you get. You get better results, the better the quality of the process. And the process is a better quality when you're choosing to be the person you aspire to be in each moment. Now, I'm not saying there are moments where we trip over and we mess up And we go, that wasn't very kind. We go, that's okay. Come on, you can be kind now
Yep.
and now and now.
Yep.
So to people who feel like their life, ideally in the future, they would like their life to be different to what it is right now, great. Just stop wasting your energy complaining about how it is right now and shift your energy to being who you need to be and doing what you need to do to make it different in the future. That
Yep.
would be my advice.
Quick note, I'm just going to add on that because I could go on my own tangent, but literally, and again, I'm going to go back to Abraham Hicks. Abraham says that your current circumstances are simply a reflection of your past thinking and being. You
Yeah.
want new circumstances, start thinking and being different. So that's it. And
Yeah.
that's why, but most people are stuck dwelling on the past, the woulda, coulda, shouldas. This
Yeah.
next moment and tomorrow will never change until like you
Yeah.
stop looking in the rearview mirror.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And you can dedicate time to ironing out the creases of the past and letting go of your attachment to stuff that doesn't exist
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Because the more of your past you carry with you, you're actually putting it in front of you and pushing it into your future, and you are just completely putting it on repeat, rinse and
Yeah.
repeat.
Yeah.
So yes, spend some time letting go of the past. Spend some time accepting. And that, people go, well, yeah, but how do I do that? Well, okay. So when you get triggered, so you're walking down the street and you see the same car that your ex used to drive, and straight away you're triggered and you go, the way that person left me was terrible, and the way they did that to me was terrible. And now you're ruminating on something that you're stuck on that doesn't exist anymore because you saw a car.
Yeah.
In that moment, gratitude. I am so grateful I got triggered just then.
Yeah.
Why am I grateful I got triggered? Well, because it went from my subconscious and now I'm consciously aware of it. And I can only let go of it when I'm conscious of it. So I'm grateful I just got triggered and I let this go.
Yeah.
And I get quite technical with this. So when I let this go, people say, how do you let something go? I literally physically lift my shoulders up like I'm holding onto it, take a big deep breath in. And then as I sigh and release, I drop my shoulders, I give it a little shake and put it on vibration, i.e., use the power of language. And I say, I let that go. That's the actual practice.
Yeah.
Now, you can't just let something go once and it's not still a cellular memory or a neurological wiring. Depending on the gravity of the thing that you're attached to, it'll take a certain amount of time for you to continually practice letting go. But as you practice letting go and accepting, the neurons that are required to let go and accept start to form and wire together. So you get better at acceptance. You get better at letting things go, and it becomes a way of life for you. Right. And so
Yeah.
as we're remembering, what you're letting go of is things that have happened in the past that don't exist anymore. You're accepting reality. You're freeing up your energy, your entire self. You're freeing it up to focus on that which you can control and influence and make a better future.
Yes, I love that. And that alone, that was a phenomenal teaching. I hope people will implement. Here's what I'd like to do to wrap up the interview. I have a few rapid fire questions for you.
Yeah.
What is a quote or motto that you live by?
Oh, my mind just exploded with so many. You put me on the spot. A quote or a motto that I live by: this too shall pass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, letting that sink in. Yep, that's a good one. Yes. What is a book you're currently reading or highly recommend?
Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown.
What's a key takeaway from that?
One of the recent ones was the difference between envy and jealousy.
Mm.
Jealousy requires 3 people. Envy is 2. And envy is not necessarily a bad thing. You can be envious of someone and wish that they still have what they have that you wish you had. So a friend of mine sends me a message from a beautiful country overseas. And I'm like, oh, I am so happy for you that you're there. And I'm envious because I'd love to be there with you. Right. So you can have good envy. And then there's the bad envy where it's like, I want what you've got and I wish you didn't have it.
Mm.
Right. But I think that was a nice distinction. And jealousy is when you you feel like someone or something is taking someone you love away from you, or taking their time that you wish you had. That was a nice distinction.
Yeah, that's a big difference. All
Oh,
right.
another big one.
Yeah.
One more.
Yeah.
This was another big one. She spoke about regrets. And I actually, if I could sit down with you, Brene, and have a chat with you, I'd actually love to talk more deeply about this, because I don't completely agree with her. She was saying you should have regrets, because if you have regrets, it means that you're learning from mistakes in the past and wanting to get better. She said, people who say I have no regrets, they're missing out on the learnings. I slightly disagree with that. I have regretted things that I've done and then looked at them and hopefully learnt from them and hopefully improved. But I don't have regrets, because I feel like to have regrets as a part of my energy body means that I'm still holding on to the past and not accepting it. I'm not in acceptance. I'm still going, oh, I wish I didn't do it like that. I wish it. No, I did it like that. Now, was it functional? Was it good? Maybe not. Sometimes I messed up. Okay. But that's okay. I've learned from it. Hopefully going to do it a bit better next time. But now I don't have the regret anymore. In fact, it's the opposite. I have gratitude that I messed up, because that's how we learn. Anyway, that was something
I'm
from the
with you
book.
on that one. Actually, I agree with your train of thought. All right,
Yeah.
final question. What advice would you give your younger self?
Um, get clear on your values, your core values. Get really clear on them. Allow them to inform your sense of identity, and just focus each day on being that.
I love that. And such a great note to end on. Jem, thank you so much for joining me today.
Heather, thank you so much for having me on your show.